こいつにはこいつの命がある。
Whoa! Well then, welcome to part 5 of the Crysis SCUFFED retrospective, the last one this time. Before I start, I just want to say a huge thank you to anyone who's sticking around to watch these individual parts. If I knew how big this project was going to be, I would have just waited and released the whole thing as one big video, so I appreciate you all for being so patient. Here's to many more in the future. I restarted the game after the last crash, and being the inquisitive scientific gamer that I am, I attempted to recreate my findings. Form a hypothesis, if you will. The 2 times the game has crashed on me happened during longer play sessions, and I'm actually surprised that the game didn't crash again from this point on. I have to say though, I was really excited at the possibility of the game crashing every time you witness these troopers self-destructing. Let's address the elephant in the room. It's fucking freezing. Thanks to Kyung and his devilish hijinks, the Ceph have crawled out of their monolith in pursuit of Coors Light and the band Creed. Cool. Later on in the series, I don't know man, they turn them into flesh goblins or some shit, I don't fucking know. The Ceph create a frost aura around them, and while it's quite small to begin with, we see it expand later on as the Ceph chase after us. The snow and frost effects look pretty cool. We've only been exposed to tropical settings up until the mine in the mountains. Thing is though, Crytek missed out on making this reveal much more impactful than it currently is, and the funny thing is it would have required less work on their part. Imagine a game where you've just cleared out this cool looking quarry level. You make your way into the mountain and boom, aliens. You make haste to get out of there quickly, confused in this foreign zero-gravity environment, when suddenly, a light at the end of the tunnel, a VTOL appears, you're almost home free, but all of a sudden, frost. You walk up to the cliff's edge, and below you is the quarry that you just entered through, only now, it is completely frozen over. The only thing similar to this that I can think of off the top of my head is Megaton in Fallout 3 and the beginning of Half-Life 1. If used properly, reusing a previous level can be very impactful. Seeing a level you've seen before but now completely destroyed is a great example of why sometimes reusing levels isn't a bad idea. You could even take it the complete opposite way and instead of destruction, show development, like in Mafia 2.
What the fuck?
After doing something like a decade in prison.
I'ma ask this little boy. What?
Seeing how much effort the developers put into creating all of these different car models and other things around the world to fit in with the new time period. Nomad's goal is to get out of the mountain from the other side of the monolith, and that's what he ends up doing in the game. But he is in a zero-G environment, and it's a good excuse for him to maybe go up and then backwards towards the quarry instead. If you've ever tried swimming underwater trying to do somersaults and shit as a kid, you'd know how disorientating that can get. Imagine that but without having any buoyancy to rely on to direct you back up. Instead of going back to a map that was already familiar to us, it just thrusts us into a brand new area and, well, I guess it's snowy here, cool. It just doesn't have the same impact that it could have had. So now you're just on your way, trying to find something, anything, anyone, and around every corner the game throws more troopers at you. I already mentioned that they're not fun to fight. You can imagine how frustrating this can get. Thankfully, they can't see you when you're cloaked. And sometimes there's a way to get past them without having to fight them. I guess it's worth mentioning that if the nanosuit was made with Ceph technology, then it's pretty weird that they have no way of detecting you while you're cloaked. I'm glad they don't though. It would make this whole part of the game so much worse. After 3 or 4 waves though, there's no more enemies. And then you really are just walking and climbing up rocks for a bit. Almost makes me wonder if I bypassed the spawn trigger by avoiding this last group of troopers. You see a lot of frozen trucks and buildings caught in the blizzard, but surprisingly no soldiers yet, frozen or otherwise. We'll see frozen bodies later, but it's kind of hard for me to believe that there wouldn't have been any survivors who managed to shelter themselves from the cold somewhere. Weirder things have happened in the Eastern Front.
Oh my god.
Would have been interesting to come across a couple of KPA soldiers near a fire somewhere. They try and shoot you, but their guns malfunction from the extreme cold. They could even try and surrender and you could fucking gun them down if you want to. Got a little bit carried away there. I guess this was before Spec Ops The Line came out, so it was unfathomable to be questioning what soldiers do abroad. It just feels like a lot more could have been done to make this part of the game more compelling if the devs had more time to flesh it out. You finally approach the last known location of Strickland's Marines.
Strickland, this is Nomad. I found your Marines.
Any survivors, son?
That's a negative, sir. No survivors.
Hell, I got 2 platoons lost up on that mountain. Okay, we need to get you out of there. Make your way to the edge of the sphere. I'll try to arrange a pickup.
Where the hell were you, Prophet? We thought you were dead.
When have I ever been that easy to kill?
Oh my god. So I'd like to direct your attention to the dialogue from now on, because it's precisely at this point that Crysis goes from a pretty decent story with a couple of weird parts here and there to absolute batshit action movie type nonsense.
I eat green berets for breakfast.
And right now, I'm very hungry.
I can't believe this macho bullshit.
I actually think that the writing in Crysis has been pretty decent so far. There was some nuance in this story. A lot of the time you didn't have the complete picture of what was going on here on the island. And I mean, the characters weren't exactly Tarantino level, but they were pretty muted for the most part. I guess what I'm trying to say is the story in the beginning was believable. And I'm not trying to imply that you can't have a good, ridiculous story, but this sort of thing needs to be established close to the beginning of the game. If at the start of Crysis, Aztec fucking jumped down from the trees like, should have used catapults, fucker, then the second half of Crysis wouldn't have been such a narrative whiplash. From now on, there are going to be lines that characters say that would have never been said by real people in this situation. They will perform actions that will make you go, what the actual fuck did I just watch? And it all starts here when Prophet fucking 360 trick shots these scouts and says,
When have I ever been that easy to kill?
like, I don't know, dude, for all I know, you could have been on your first real mission and you're just LARPing. Also, there's just so much weird shit happening in this cutscene. Like, why is Nomad so shocked when these troopers jump up from behind the house? He literally just watched the scout dropping them there. Is it because one of them is slightly greener than the other ones? Damn, those nanomachines in his eyes must be really doing some work. Why is he just standing there watching them get closer? You just killed a couple dozen of them and now you take a minute to consider why you're still here? Just to suffer? Is it literally just so they could have an excuse for Prophet to come save you? Like, really? You fight off the troopers that attack you in Prophet and... oh dear, his suit has malfunctioned. Just out of nowhere? What happened? It was working fine just a minute ago when he dropped in. Really makes me wonder, like, could the devs really not think of a way where you could find Prophet with his suit already malfunctioning or completely dead? I've started playing through Halo Master Chief Collection for the first time this year, and a PlayStation growing up, okay? I've played through Halo 2 and 3, and god damn was it a weird nostalgia trip. The only time I used to be able to play Halo when I was a kid was at my friend's house who had the original Xbox, so to finally be able to get my hands on these games and play them by myself was something I could scratch off my bucket list. The reason I'm mentioning this is because at the start of Halo 3, Master Chief is found unresponsive on Earth? I don't remember, but his suit is locked up and they literally had to send a recovery team to see if he could be revived. Turns out once they unlocked his suit, he was able to move again. Job done. This made me wonder about how Crytek could have handled Prophet's reappearance in Crysis. There are two ways that I can think of. One would require more work because they would have to redo like 10 minutes of gameplay, and the other would still be kinda dumb but would have been more consistent with the tone of the game so far. The first one is you find him strapped up to machines in the alien monolith. The Ceph recognized the suit was made with their technology, so they disabled it and hooked him up to somewhere. Or whatever it is that aliens do. Probe him?
Oh shit!
You can make this reveal happen at the end of the monolith level so you don't have to program Prophet moving about in the zero-G environment and boom, you're outside. The second one is almost identical, but instead of the monolith, maybe you find him in the same place where he finds you now. Only his suit was already malfunctioning from alien tampering, so the freeze that the Ceph unleashed actually froze him over, with the suit directing all of its power to try and keep him from freezing inside. This one wouldn't even require that much work, you just make a different cutscene here. Instead, they have him jumping in with the suit working completely fine 1 minute, then when it's time for the escort mission, it just suddenly begins to malfunction. Awesome. You heard me correctly, dear viewer. In a game which has thus far given the player so many different ways and opportunities to approach each of your objectives, we are now tasked with a fucking escort mission. Because his suit decided to commit Roebuck, you now have a timer that tells you exactly when Prophet will develop penile frostbite and instantly die.
I can't go on.
At this point I was actually convinced that the game was broken. I couldn't remember anything about this mission, but I figured that they were about to do the moving from heat source to heat source meme. The problem was, Prophet was on 40% energy left, and I didn't know how far I was meant to go before, he's saved by the cutscene. Well, there goes that. Maybe get a little closer, huh? Maybe you'll actually hit something. And yes, it's just as I thought. There's burning car wrecks all along the path to your next objective. Well, it's mostly cars except for this one fuel tank at the start here. At least I'll never have to worry about those helicopters again.
Helicopter, helicopter!
Okay. In all fairness, the scouts' weapons aren't anywhere near as bad as the helicopters armed with the power of the hydraulic press. If you picked up the alien minigun that Prophet dropped you, then you'll make short work of them, especially when they try and get close. The one annoying thing about them is how mobile they are. Are you seeing a pattern here? It's not super easy to predict where they're gonna go next, and the minigun has a bit of travel time on it, so you'll have to lead your shots. I was sitting here near this car for a few solid minutes, and the scouts just kept coming one after the other. Yeah, as soon as you down one, you just have to bolt it towards the objective. Me when you at the bar, a cute girl, oh fuck it. If you got Prophet back to 100% energy, you should be able to make it with no problems. Except just around the corner of the objective, the game throws more fucking troopers your way. Come on, man, it's right here. It's one thing to have a shitty escort mission in your game, but it's a whole other thing when there's a timer involved. Fuck whoever made this objective in particular. And you better believe the game made me restart from the fucking beginning of this section. At least there's skippable cutscenes, thank God. After finally killing these troopers, you're greeted with the warmth of a ripe trash fire. After which all you have to do is cross this bridge and you're home free. But not before seeing this admittedly cool set piece.
They're coming! Let's go! Go! Nomad! Come on! Move!
Whew, so that was a lot of shitting on the game. And there's plenty more shit to be shat. However, I can't stop here in the first few minutes of Exodus and appreciate the vibe. These Marines just barely made it out of the sphere, and they don't really even know what's going on, or who they're fighting. You can sense their uncertainty, the fear. They've secured themselves a temporary headquarters here of sorts, with the little ammunition they managed to gather sitting on the tables inside. It's good. And it's weird that the same studio that has the ability to create this type of atmosphere is the same one that made the shit show we just witnessed. See, it's not all bad. I'll tell you what is bad though. If you dare to look at the sphere stares back, taking half of your frame rate with it. Look, I may have exaggerated the frame rate in the introduction to this part, but it's undeniable that every level in this game after the alien anomaly is lacking in polish. As you can see, we get attacked by the aliens and, after defeating them, Prophet goes, I'ma head out, and you're finally whipping out of here towards the landing zone. This is a mixed bag. On one hand, turret section. On the other, this does make everything seem a little more urgent. If the player was allowed to just walk here and cloak themselves in a bush, then the pacing here would suffer for sure. I just cannot believe the balls on Crytek for not making this car invincible. My dude, this damage is unavoidable. I can already imagine other people like me playing this when they were younger and just dying here over and over again. Let's take a second to remember all the young kings that died that day. Halfway down the road, you come across this cliff, and this is also the precise moment in time that you learn that Prophet is a bitch. I've made bigger jumps than this in real life. Now you have to run down the hill and you come across this downed VTOL, in which somehow Helena Rosenthal is the only survivor. Yeah, remember when the VTOL got damaged? I sure as hell didn't. The fact that they didn't evacuate her as soon as possible is a plot hole all within itself. Wasn't she one of the only reasons we're here in the first place? Why put her life in danger like this? What follows next is a perfect example of how this game was not meant for you to have companions and missions. I got to the VTOL first because, as with the many other tropes that this game has decided to include in this last section, Prophet is much slower than me. So I get here and Helena is just like, please, someone help me, get this door open. You're in luck, baby. I think to myself, just so happens I'm a gamer. I think at one point she even says I smell gasoline. And seeing how the game has so far taught me that I can interact with all of these objects in the world, I just circle around the VTOL looking for a prompt, thinking I'm about to fail the mission. All the while, Prophet is sluggishly catching up behind me screaming,
Come on, Nomad, move!
You cannot make this shit up. It's like I'm playing a fucking COD campaign. It's only when Prophet gets here that the mission can progress. You can't even open the door before you're attacked by scouts again. There's a Korean AAA gun right next to the VTOL, which you conveniently cannot even drive. You just control the turret. Why even put the AAA there if you clearly don't even want me to drive it? Could have just put a turret down, would have done the job. Maybe the developers were starting to realize how boring the alien fighting was getting, and this was some way of forcing variety. Anyway, door open, Helena safe, yada yada yada. Another VTOL lands next to the wreckage, and I ran inside, after which Nomad said,
Prophet, you go with her. I'll lay down suppressing fire till you're airborne.
Why? There's enough seats in here for everyone, including the Marines.
I'll lay down suppressing fire till you're airborne.
To Recover you? From what? This thing comes out, but they're already on their way out of here. I guess Prophet must have a multi-pass or something. There's literally no reason why Nomad couldn't get on that VTOL, even if he still wants to go and help Strickland. Do you see what I mean with the writing? This really does feel like the game was rushed in the ending. There's so much questionable shit happening here that could have been fixed with a little more time, and it's only just getting started. Instead of kindly taking us and dropping us off at the next objective, we have to trek across the map with the rest of the Marines that are also left behind. All the while we're being chased by the fucking Omnidroid from The Incredibles. Halfway to the objective, the game decides that you've not had enough of the troopers yet, so it spawns two fucking troopers to try and stop you. There's not even any more spawns after this. I really don't see why they even bothered. Might as well have put a cannon in the middle of the road for you to kick. I guess the frog will do for now. You finally make it to the final stand of the Marines, and Strickland is just standing here by the road like, "What's up, boss man? Got your ID with you?" Dude, you're a major. Go hide somewhere. You're gonna get domed any minute. Well, there's a long fight here, so montage time. Can you imagine if all of these were helicopters?
Here I come, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them, tougher than leather. You can call me Knuckles. Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle. I'd rather flex my muscles.
Oh, I guess it's over. There's the Omnidroid left, but we can't really do anything about that. Nothing left to do but skedaddle.
Come on, sir! It hit! What in the name of General Patton is that fucking thing? Get out of here, Vulture. This bastard belongs to me. What about you, Major? I'm a Marine, son. I'll walk on water if I have to. Now get off my fucking island while I draw its fire. Hang on, we're overloaded. Think we can make it? Bring it on, you son-of-a bitch! Strickland!
What happened? You have to understand, it's been years since I've last played through this entire game. When I was recording this, my jaw was in fucking Mozambique, my guy. It's so clear that this was meant to be like a real badass moment, like Strickland is protecting the United States itself from invaders. Nah, son, I'm a Marine, therefore I must fucking die right here. Okay, maybe to save your men. The problem with that is though, we're pretty safe just a second ago, but now as soon as the cutscene starts, all of a sudden it's the battle for Bikini Bottom again out of nowhere. Would this not have worked a little better if we were told to retreat while the aliens were still spawning? Like a, oh shit, we're outnumbered, time to get out of here type beat. It just makes Strickland look like such an incompetent idiot when he gets Robloxed 5 fucking seconds after getting in that truck. I also like how the Omnidroid is taking fire this entire time, but all of a sudden when Strickland starts shooting at him, whoa, now those are special bullets. These require my immediate attention. I haven't seen such forced drama since, well, I don't even know. Any game with a silent protagonist that can't communicate that he's the good guy. Wait, Crysis 2 does that as well.
Hold on to your hats, gentlemen. Today's forecast, shitstorm. We got multiple airborne bandits in the valley ahead, and this weather's like nothing I've ever seen. We got incoming! Brace! Ah! The pilot's hit! Get the cockpit open!
Now the VTOL stage is one of the few things that I did remember happening in this part of the game. I mean, I can comment on the fact that it's ridiculous that Nomad knows how to fly this thing, and that apparently everyone on board just assumed that to be the case, but I don't know, man, maybe the suit has the ability to interface with the aircraft or something. I just love how he tells Command that he's not a pilot, and they're just like, you got it, kid, just fucking try it, it's not that hard. I'm not too angry at this. Anytime the game gives me something new to do, I think is good, especially if the thing it's giving you is fresh and fun, but they really had to stretch common sense and narrative around some of the things that have happened in the last half hour or so of the game, and there's traces of that here still. For example, I think the VTOL in the game looks pretty cool, but the fact that only one pilot is responsible for piloting the aircraft is pretty wild, and this is exactly why.
Yes.
If you're carrying passengers in your aircraft, it's probably a good idea to be able to accommodate a co-pilot or two in the cockpit precisely so that you don't turn one unlucky death into like 8 or more, depending on how many passengers you're carrying. The thing is, the VTOL clearly has 2 seats, but the layout of it reminds me of an Apache helicopter, which leads me to believe that the operator at the bottom would only be responsible for firing weapons and not piloting the aircraft. Look at troop transport helicopters in the modern day, like the Huey or the Chinook. That's another thing. I get they want to go for a near futuristic aesthetic in the game, but like, give those helicopters some love, man. VTOLs are expensive and inefficient. Just look at the Harrier. That thing can barely take off when it's full on fuel, let alone when it's carrying weapons. Whatever, this is a fucking tangent. I play DCS, okay? This section took me about 6 minutes to finish, which is weird because I remember it being much longer. Last time I played this far, I remember dying quite often though, so I guess I was just a shitter. The VTOL controls fine enough. It's like any other arcade helicopter controls. If you've played the Black Ops campaign, then you already know how this controls. The only difference here is that you can propel yourself forward. Here are some strange things about the VTOL. Your health regenerates after a while, but your missiles don't. From what I can tell, they just took the working VTOL system from the multiplayer and doubled the amount of missiles that you have from 6 to 12. They also give you an altitude ceiling, which is fine, I get it, it's a game. But the in-game reason they give you for that is, the engines are damaged?
Secondary engines fail. Maintain a low altitude or you'll overload the primary thrusters.
First of all, bitch, where? Second of all, wouldn't engine damage kind of hinder something else with the VTOL? Like maybe, I don't know, the hovering? The first thing I noticed was that there is no main objective marker here. Occasionally you come across secondary objectives where you can save evacuating Marines from the alien scouts, but other than that you can just keep flying. Part of me wants to believe that this was a conscious choice on behalf of the developers, who believed in the player's abilities to be able to find their own way out into the ocean. But the rest of me thinks they probably just fucked up the coding for it or something. There's really not that much else to say. Eventually you just make it out into the ocean and you keep flying towards the carrier. And we all know what rookie carrier landings look like.
How'd I do?
We're still alive, Lieutenant. I'd say you did good.
I'm fragile.
Nomad! Thank God you made it! Take a look at this! One of the pilots brought it in.
Oi, Nomad! Get a load of this ugly bastard!
Yeah, Psycho's little trophy. Hey, be careful!
Captain's nuts bringing this thing on board.
You got something to say, Collins?
No, sir.
I didn't think so.
What the hell?
You said it was dead.
It's dead now, ain't it?
We saw the same thing with our generators in the mine. These creatures drain energy from nearby power sources.
You could have mentioned that before we brought it on board.
Nomad, the Admiral wants to see you down in CDC. That video feed you sent back's causing a bit of a stir. We better get down there.
Man,
You go on. I'll see you later.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, what is this scene? This is the type of greeting you give to a family member that got caught out in a storm on their way to your fucking Christmas dinner. Oh, Nomad, thank God you made it. The turkey's almost done roasting. Merry Christmas, by the way, Jesus. Did we miss like 2 years in between this and getting off the island where Nomad and Helena had the time to develop some sort of closer relationship? Where is this cut content and can I have that to eat?
Yeah, Psycho's little trophy.
And oh, Psycho, what are you like? Am I right, Nomad? Motherfucker, you must have met him like 5 minutes ago. You've no idea what we've been through. Boy! But by far, the dumbest thing to have happened in this game so far is Helena, who apparently studied physics at one point, who says that she knew that the scouts drain power from external sources, doesn't relay this information to the crew of a fucking nuclear aircraft carrier? Do you know why it's called a nuclear aircraft carrier? It's because it's got a fucking nuclear generator in it. And it's a nuclear generator, by the way, that powers the aircraft carrier for up to 25 years without needing to refuel. Can you imagine if the Scout tried to draw power from the nuclear generator? Helena almost single-handedly created an international crisis. Ah, well done, Helena. You deserve this one.
Mentioned that before we brought it on board.
Yeah, damn right, dude. You should be more fucking angry about this. Best part is her reaction. They're like, fucking men. Speaking of, how does Helena even know Nomad's name at this point? I genuinely had to go back through the game footage and check because I distinctly remember Nomad saying,
Who are you?
U.S. Special Forces.
and that's it. In the same scene, the VTOL pilot calls him Nomad, but she can't hear that shit. The next time we hear from her though,
There he is. Nomad, we see you.
you remember how I just wasted like 2 minutes of this video talking about the design of the VTOL? Bitch, how do you see me right now? Come on. Are you sitting here? Or here? Maybe her camera went to third person when she got on. Fair enough. Thing is, I could believe that when she got onto the VTOL that one of the crew members gave him one of those headsets that everyone wears on helicopters so they can hear each other. Except then it would have to be one of those pilots that says this, not Helena. Pilot says, Nomad, we see you. Then Helena hears it and is like, oh, the guy that just saved my fucking life. They must be talking about him. I shall remember his name, for he is my gamer. Well, I can say the safety procedures aboard this multi-million-dollar aircraft carrier are up to standard. Good thing there's like a total of 6 people on here right now or you'd be in fucking big trouble. What a shit show, just send us back. So Psycho tells us that we have to go down into the ship and speak to the Admiral. However, upon being granted my movement privileges again, I noticed this F-35 looking jet getting ready to take off. I genuinely did not think they would have actually animated this thing taking off, so I sat here watching it for a little while. The best part about it is that it's making absolutely zero noise. Now again, this could be a problem with modern hardware, but the only thing you can hear in this scene right now is the VTOL you just got out of.
They're circuits. Sounds like a long shot if you ask me.
Oh, it's taken off? No, not quite yet. Blast shield's up now. Let's go! Simply amazing. Damn, now when did this game turn into an immersive sim? Feels like I'll get a dialogue window if I walk up to one of these Marines and try to talk to them. Maybe I can trade them my Reddit karma for some SCAR ammo. I do have to give the game props for just letting you walk around the ship like this. Sure, most of the doors are locked and you're pretty much just funneled towards where the Admiral is, but there are some things to look at here. And it's a nice change of pace to be able to just take it slow and take in some of this atmosphere. Any other game around this time would have had you on rails, or just straight up in a cutscene. It actually got my imagination going. Like, imagine if this was a hub area for like a Metal Gear 5 type game. You go out on missions on the island, choosing whether to go alone or with a bigger team. Then as you complete objectives, you can return and upgrade your suit to do cool new things. I don't know, just some ideas I had. Fair warning, there are a lot of cutscenes in this final part of the game. I'll try to only show the most important bits though, and by that I mean the stupid and funny ones.
I'm gonna go find Prophet before he does something stupid. I'll catch you later.
Strickland, if you can hear me, you've got to get everyone off this island. There's thousands of these things and they're waking up.
It's an infestation. Nomad, you did a fine job out there, son. Thanks to your video feed, the Joint Chiefs have recommended a nuclear assault. As soon as I get final confirmation from the White House, we'll reduce these bastards to dust.
Admiral, we shouldn't rush into any decisions here. We need time to explore other alternatives.
You want to second-guess the President? The Joint Chiefs? I'm not sure you understand the gravity of the situation, Doctor.
I'm gonna save you a lot of time here. The Admiral is like, let's nuke the aliens, and Helena's like, no, they're too sexy, huh? And now all of a sudden, Helena considers the possibility of the aliens being able to harness the energy from the nuclear strike to do bad. How fucking thoughtful of you.
I think there's another way. I just need more time.
There is no more time, Doctor. I want all non-critical personnel out of here right now.
Asshole.
Well,
God, there's just no one that's likable here. Who are we expected to side with? The Admiral is a trigger-happy dumbass who couldn't possibly question an order from the President. And while Helena's probably right, spoilers she is, then so far this is pretty out of character for her. If she was so happy with bringing an alien scout on board this nuclear aircraft carrier because fuck it, no one asked, Lamau. Then why wouldn't she just be like, you only beat twice, Admiral. Nuke the fucking island. Pretty weird reaction towards someone you fear is about to start a fucking interplanetary war, by the way. This asshole.
I saw your CO heading down to the armory. He's probably waiting for you, sir.
You know what? I take it back. We finna stand this guy. So the Admiral kindly asks us to leave. Guess we might as well go check on the boys. It's actually a fairly long walk to get to the next objective. Boy, I sure hope that shit doesn't hit the fan in a few minutes, and the game makes me navigate my way out of the ship through all these winding corridors. Oof, I smell a big stinky aura of dominance wafting from this room. Jesus Christ!
Then I go.
Hey, Nomad.
Basically, they're trying to figure out what happened to Prophet's suit that caused it to malfunction, as well as checking the alien minigun to see how it was able to make it work. The technology in the alien blaster is apparently so advanced that it would take weeks to reverse engineer. Thankfully, Prophet is a natural. Yes, it's my turn on the DX Racer, let's go!
Hey, boss, where you going?
I'm gonna finish this.
I reckon nuking the entire island is about as final as it gets.
What Admiral Morrison does is not my concern. His nuke won't even scratch the surface.
Prophet, wait!
Interesting. Okay, look. At this point, nothing really surprised me anymore, at least story-wise. This game has gone to such shit now that you could show me Prophet taking a fucking huge dump on the floor and I would only do like a couple double takes. Prophet is on his way up to the deck right now, and he's about to steal a VTOL to fly himself back to the island. In this world, there are two character traits. One is having a reluctance to board any aircraft. The other is instinctively knowing how to fly one without training. Some lucky people suffer from both of these defects. What's even your goal here? You know the island is about to be nuked. You're actually being delusional right now if you think you can even make it there before that. It took Nomad around 10 minutes to fly back to the carrier from the island. Do you want to know how long it takes for the nuke to drop after Prophet takes off? It's 1 minute and 30 seconds. Have fun in the Mojave Wasteland, my friend.
So, what can I do for you, Doctor?
I've identified a signal pattern used by these creatures when they recharge. I think it makes them susceptible to an energy overload. Is there any way to transmit one of their signals via the nanosuit?
Shouldn't be a problem. Let me see what I can do.
What if I need to alter the frequency remotely?
Fairly straightforward. You can send signals from any computer with a wireless connection. That should leave you room to experiment.
What exactly are you guys doing to me?
If my theory is correct, you'll be a walking weapon to fight these things.
And if your theory's wrong?
Then we'd better pray Morrison knows what he's doing.
Let me get this straight. So you do think you have a way to stop the aliens without needing to bomb the Philippines, and you don't think to tell the Admiral about this little theory of yours? Earlier you made it sound like you have no idea about what to do with them, which probably factored into the nuclear option being chosen in the first place. I swear, the writers are trolling us at this point. I cannot prove it, but I think they are.
Pretty girl. Not many of those in my field.
Okay, here's your proof.
Ah, there she is. Put her on the rack over there.
Yep.
Prototype tac cannon, designed to be used in conjunction with the nanosuit. We're still experimenting. It hasn't even been field tested. It fires a projectile tactical nuke. Works like a grenade launcher, but with a lot more bang for your buck. Whatever will they think of next?
Can I try it out?
No.
Damn, I wonder what our next weapon pickup is gonna be. God, we're finally done here. This absolute player of a scientist lets us know that the Admiral is over his fucking tantrum and wants to see us again. I was about to head out when this happened.
Nomad! If you see Helena, can you tell her, it doesn't matter.
Well, he's determined, I'll give him that. We're on our way to the Admiral again, and at this point, the corridors are getting a little bit much. It would be one thing if these were new areas, but we're literally just backtracking. Meanwhile, the Admiral is on the intercom letting everyone know that we're about to Hiroshima the Philippines. Look, it's never outright stated what country the island belongs to, but I can't imagine the Philippines being happy about a nuclear bomb going off on an island just off of their coast, regardless of ownership. I guess some of the radiation must have leaked out early somewhere. There's already stalker anomalies popping up. Now, we've already seen the beginning of this cutscene where Prophet manages to GTA himself a fucking VTOL without any resistance. Let's skip a little. There's gonna be a flashing lights warning up on the screen in a little bit. When you see it and you're sensitive to that sort of thing, then look away until I start talking again.
About time, Lieutenant. We're almost ready to launch. That major of yours just went AWOL. raided the armory, took a VTOL, and headed back to the island.
He's saying this like he's proud of it. How the fuck did no one manage to stop him before doing all of these things? Sure, he's got a scary suit on, but so does Psycho, and he was supposedly going to stop him. Do we not have locks on the door to the armory? Did the people in charge just let him in, no questions asked? I'm sorry, but I feel like at this point, after having done all of this shit, the Admiral would be completely in the right to just shoot him down when he was taken off, no questions asked.
Admiral, I'm begging you to reconsider. It's too much of a risk. What if this is exactly what they want? What if we're playing into their hands?
Just tell him about the thing you were doing downstairs. It's not that hard.
I don't have time for what-ifs, Doctor. The Pentagon has authorized the use of nuclear force. I have my orders.
Constitution Command, this is Marauder 1. We've got lock. Approaching critical range. Over.
Copy, Marauder 1. Stand by. We're ready, sir.
What if you're wrong, Admiral? Can you live with the consequences?
Proceed with the launch.
Aye, aye, sir. Marauder 1, this is Constitution Command. That's a green light. Deliver the payload. Over.
I hope you're right about this.
You, me, and the rest of the planet.
Well, that was probably the worst case scenario.
I think we just made it stronger.
Everybody down!
Get a fire crew in here! Now! Shake it off, Nomad. This whole ship's going to hell in a handbasket. Those things are breaching our hull from every direction. Get out there and fight, soldier! We cannot lose this ship!
So now the Admiral that started this whole mess wants you to go down onto the deck and protect the fleet. Seems about right. There is a Gauss rifle opposite to the room you were just in, but honestly it's not a big deal if you miss it. There's weapons scattered all over the deck now for some reason. But first, you have to go down like 8 flights of stairs. A real feat for some, it seems. I honestly couldn't tell you how all of this stuff got here. The runway was pretty clear when we first landed, but I'm done trying to find reason behind any of the things that are happening now. Reason got its first foot out of the window about 25 minutes ago. Again, there's no objective showing you where to go. All it says is to go down onto the deck and to protect the aircraft carrier. So I just ran around the deck shooting down scouts for a little bit until the game finally decided that it's padded enough minutes into the ending. The only good thing I will say about this scene is that it feels really chaotic in a good way. You then learn from the Admiral that the nuclear reactor room has been breached, and you're the goon that's gonna go down there and try and fix the problem. You take the deck elevator down into the innards of the ship, where you get to take a break from shooting things again. Now, again, the atmosphere down here is pretty cool. It's really hard for me to explain the feelings I was experiencing when I was playing this. One minute I'm in complete shock at the narrative, and then a few minutes later I'm thinking about how well the graphics held up in some of these interior sections and how good some of the sound design is. And then I come across this corridor, and ouchie. Now I see that the path I was going to take originally is now up in smoke. So I do what other games have taught me thus far, and I'm just about to start looking for a vent or a different corridor, when all of a sudden, the flames just magically disappear. No puzzle, no alternate route. Just a barrier in your way to pad out those precious few seconds. Reminds me of the gates in the Alien Anomaly level. Waiting around just makes for good gameplay, I guess. This isn't the last time we're going to see something like this. In fact, there's something coming up right now. You make it to a room filled with survivors. Some Marines manage to regroup here and are trying to figure out some sort of plan. An engineer runs out onto this catwalk and directs you towards the nuclear generator. There's no lighting down here due to the heavy flooding that the ship is enduring, so this is the second time in your playthrough that the I key will be pressed to activate night vision. You're directed towards the circuit breaker, which has the effect of opening the rod arms on the reactor. Your path is blocked at one point. You have to climb up this ladder and enter this vent. So you do have vents. Interesting. And here we are, the reactor room. God, I wonder if we're meant to press the comically big red button. Now, a question to the people who have either never played this game before or who have never gotten this far. To successfully shut down the reactor, all of these safety rods have to be inserted into the core. To your surprise, 3 of the rods are jammed in place. You tell this to the engineers, who then tell you that you have to go into the reactor chamber and manually push them in. The suit gives you partial protection from radiation for a short time, so you should be okay. So you go inside. You hover your crosshair onto one of the rods, and the use icon shows up. However, whenever you press the use key, nothing happens other than Nomad releasing the doom grunt from frustration. With this information, would you be able to come up with the answer to this puzzle? If anybody actually watches this video, then you can tell me in the comments before watching to see the answer. I think I'm justified in not knowing what the fuck I was meant to do here. Up until this point, the suit powers haven't been anything more than combat modifiers. There's not been a single situation that required you to use a suit ability to finish a puzzle, and honestly, I use the word puzzle lightly. Because when I went on GameFAQs to check what I was meant to do here, I audibly groaned. Seriously, I wish my microphone was recording. The answer, dear viewer, is to use maximum strength before pressing on the rods. Now look, it could just be that I was already checked out by this point in the game, but like, come on. First of all, when the engineer told me that the suit would protect me from radiation, to me, that sounded like you should use armor mode to avoid damage here. On top of this, I already mentioned that nothing like this has happened up until this point. There haven't been any objects in this game that required you to use a suit ability to use. The only exception to this was the blocked doors around this aircraft carrier that needed you to have max power on before you punching them down. If that alone was meant to tell me what to do here, then you can slap my fucking cheeks up. Oh, and before the door opens, 3 troopers make their way into the chamber and try to harness its power. Helena sees this happening through our suit transmission and decides to finally use this secret weapon she's been mentioning. Nomad's suit unleashes so much gaming at once that they become overloaded and explode. And now, I'm happy to say that we're finally at the home stretch. We're on our way back on top of the deck, but not before a game decides to put this janky-ass platform puzzle here out of nowhere. I know it looks like you should be jumping on top of this engine or generator, whatever it is, but if you try to do that, you just slip off to the side and get fried. The stairs on your right are broken too. You're instead meant to jump to the stairs on your left. Legendary game design right here. You come back to meet the Marines you just saw earlier and they die to a silent pipe explosion. Now look, we're gonna skip forward a little. There's about 10 minutes of me just running through hangars and other different compartments in the hull of the ship fighting troopers with Marines. There's nothing really new for me to say here. The environments are different enough from the rest of the game to make the fighting a little interesting, but the tight compartments paired with the mobile troopers mixed together for some frustrating moments at times. You stop off to grab the tac gun. Ah, told you that would happen. And it's conveniently stored in a separate slot from your 2 main rifles. After some more fighting, you make it to this room.
Get the fucking gun! No, man! No, man! You have to save these people! Get out on deck! Go!
Can't say I feel sorry for the guy. So long, me boy. You're gonna be mystery meat now. This is kind of an aside, but when the Admiral says Nomad, it sounds like they used the exact same clip twice.
Nomad! Nomad!
Psycho and Helena managed to take a VTOL and they're now hovering around the aircraft carrier. That's 3 out of the 5 Team Raptor members now that just know how to fly a VTOL, by the way. I wonder if Aztec and Jesser had these abilities as well. One can only imagine. We're meant to get out onto the deck so that we can be picked up. Thing is, I got lost. So far, if I've had to backtrack on the carrier, the game would block off doors that I came in earlier if there was no need for me to go back through them. This time, however, I was able to waste my time walking all the way up these stairs to find 2 open rooms with absolutely nothing useful in them. Now, in all fairness, the door you were meant to get out from was right there next to the Admiral. But at a glance, it definitely does not look like it leads out onto the deck. I mean, it looks like it's blocked by fucking chains. I don't know, like, why not save me the trouble and put some barrels or cabinets blocking the stairs, huh? Anyway, I walked through the correct door, and finally, the final boss fight of Crysis 1.
Sir, you see the Admiral? Look at the size of that thing!
Okay, I hope that thing can fly or swim, because otherwise those legs aren't long enough to be able to walk on the bottom of the ocean. I tried to use the tack gun on the Omnidroid here, but the game cucks you from using it for now. Looks like I have to do this the old-fashioned way. It doesn't take any damage at first, just like earlier on the island. Except now, Helena is able to use Nomad's suit against it to weaken its defenses. After that, it's actually pretty easy to kill, even though I fucking managed to die to it once. Just wait till the defenses are down, then spam the Gauss rifle and rocket launcher. It'll go down in less than a minute. Well, that's the end of Crysis, everyone. Like and comment on this video. Hope you all...
Nope.
Wow. Guess they must have been saving the tank gun for something after all. So the Ceph bring out the fucking mothership to finish you off once and for all. I have to admit, the spectacle is pretty awesome. I didn't remember anything after the Omnidroid in the finale, but when I saw this thing slowly appearing from the horizon, I have to say, I recognized it instantly, and I was pretty impressed. They were definitely going for an oh shit moment here, and they got it from me. I also have to stress how impressive it is that this isn't a cutscene. That was me noticing this thing slowly appearing, not Nomad. It's just finally, after this slog of this fucking disgustingly shit level, we finally have something that impresses me. And with all that praise, you might be wondering, Hub, how was the boss fight? It's alright. Look here. Look, listen. It's easy to be impressed by almost anything that had a little bit of effort put into it after playing a game that has been at a constant decline in creativity and polish. All in all, I think this boss fight is a good way to end the game, but when you really look at it for what it is, it's a pretty standard, if slightly subpar fight. There are a few stages that the mothership goes through. The first is the shielded stage, where you cannot do any damage to it except when shooting the little AAA type guns that it has to fight off the VTOL. Why those aren't also protected like the main cannons, I couldn't tell you. You're told to first take these guns out so that Helena can get close to it and take down its shields, which doesn't even make sense. Isn't Nomad's suit the thing that is emitting the alien racism pulse? Why does Helena have to get close to the mothership? Can you not just ask Nomad to get closer to the VTOL instead? But whatever, you take the guns out and the game spawns in some scouts to fight off, after which the shields go offline. But not before I die because I'm fucking shit at games. When the shields go offline, that's when you can bust out your tack gun and take out these arm cannons, though you only have time to destroy one before more scouts get sent your way, and the shields need to be deactivated again. The tack gun has to lock on before it can fire. That's gonna be important later. After taking out the second arm cannon, the mothership goes into its final stage, where it hovers over you like a giant head crab. Take out 2 more little guns on its belly, and then shoot a nuke down into the hatch. The timing for this seems really weird. It seems like I barely have enough time to lock onto it, because by the time I shoot a nuke, the hatch is already closing. All the while, you're now harassed by these fucking troopers. I think that killing them triggered a longer period for when the hatch is open, but I can't be sure. Eventually I got the nuke in, and the mothership starts to break apart. So now, in my head, I'm like, this whole ship is about to explode. Maybe I should just sprint towards the VTOL. So I do that, and I get domed by one of the troopers.
Come on, hurry!
Thank God it saved right before this happened. You have to kill at least most of these troopers if you want to make it out, after which, we get the final cutscene of the game.
Come on! Jump! Jump! Come on! You can make it!
Hold on!
Come on, Psycho, go, go, go!
There's a naval fleet en route from Japan. They'll be here within the hour.
I'm setting course to intercept.
No. We know how to beat them now. We need to keep fighting.
I'm picking up a transmission.
What is it?
You ain't gonna believe this, mate. It's Prophet.
He's alive?
And kicking by the sound of it. Looks like he's inside the sphere.
Lock onto his position. Going back.
And that really was the end of the game this time. I could shit on the final cutscene, like how long it is for example, or the similarities between this and COD 4, about how Prophet is alive and this dumbass action hero moment, but honestly, I'm just glad it's over. They kinda wrote themselves out of any direct sequels here. If we had one, then I couldn't see how it could involve anything other than fighting the same aliens on the same island, so I'm really not surprised about the different turn the series took from Crysis 2 and onwards. So, should you play the original Crysis? Well, by the time I'm uploading this video, the Crysis Remastered Edition is out now on Steam, and is actually cheaper than the original. I haven't played it myself, that could be a future video if it's different enough to warrant one, but at least with the remaster you could be sure that you won't have any problems starting the game up. If you like sandboxy, stealthy FPS games, then yes, I think you should play it. Do what I did, play through the entire game once to experience the shit show that the game devolves into, and then enjoy it for the first 4 or so hours after that make it one of my favorite games of all time.
I want you to subscribe to me.
Scav Merchant Hub.
On YouTube, thank you, cringe. Bye.